With only 3 races left in the season, the hunt for the championship is on, and every single lap counts from here on out. We make our return for the first time in 42 years to the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. Not a rider on the property has ever competed here before, making the playing ground level for all. Welcome back. This is the AMA Grand National Championship Series. Round 14 is next. We are excited to be back at Sonoma County Fairgrounds for the Canada AMA Pro Flat Track Nationals presented by General Tire. This is Santa Rosa and the Santa Rosa Mile. Ken Stout and Chris Carr here to call the action for you. First time the series has been back in 42 years. It's going to be exciting to say the least. Kenny Sargent, nobody racing here today has ever been on this track, although there's been some big names in history that have come out here and created history.
Guys, it's been over 40 years since names like Nix, Nixon, and of course Rice were running and gunning here at the Santa Rosa Mile, a thoroughbred horse track which, by the way, has a sandy base. And that sand can cause issues with the back tires of these bikes, some issues that these riders may not expect. Steve Moorhead, AMA Pro Racing, what are some issues that we may see today here at Santa Rosa?
Well, Kenny, you're exactly right as far as the sandy base. They did scrape the racetrack to try to find the bottom to this. Well, for one, if they end up down on the bottom, it will get abrasive. But there's still enough material on this racetrack that they've got a cushion. For one, it'll help preserve tire wear if they run on the edge of that cushion. Two, the tires won't grow any temperature, so we won't have any trouble with blistering or anything. So I think the fastest line is going to be bumping the edge of that cushion until it completely dries out and there's no traction. Then they'll possibly have to go back to the bottom.
If, let's say, 12 laps into that main or prior to starting the main, of course it's a 25-lapper, will you split that main in half if you need to?
Absolutely. After every race, my tech inspectors will be monitoring the tire wear after the heat races, after the last chance qualifiers, and the pro singles race as well. So if we think that there's a problem, we could possibly run 12 laps, take a 5-minute intermission, change tires in front of the grandstand and everybody so everybody knows what's going on, and then line them back up single file according to the position they were running and run the remaining 13 laps.
Guys, I think what he's trying to say is expect the unexpected here this afternoon at Santa Rosa. With a sandy base, we're going to have some monster racing. Fellas?
Thanks a lot, guys, and we'll certainly keep an eye on that story as well. Let's take a look at our points from General Tire. The top 3 in the hunt. Sammy Halbert, though, is the hottest rider on tour, arguably, with 3 wins under his belt. We're going to go into heat race number 1 right out the bat for the experts. This championship's going to run right down to it as expected. Let's watch what happens here, because this might be a good indicator of what we're going to see in this 25-lap main event on this sandy track.
And pole sitter Sammy Halbert, number 7, starting from the outside. The track has kind of brushed off, but isn't really taking any rubber. And I'd hate to be the guy running about 7th or 8th right now. That is a lot of dirt, a lot of dust flying here at the Santa Rosa County Fairgrounds. This reminds me of the days of On Any Sunday. No rubber. These guys are no rubber on the racetrack, and these guys are side by side at 110 miles an hour going into the corners, feet away from the hay bales. It looks like we're watching Mert Lawwell there, number 7 from 1970.
That is awesome. I mean, side by side nearly all the way through the turn as you watch the action here, and the checkered flag flies. It is Sammy Halbert who picks up the win here in heat race number 1 and continues on his tear, as you can see the top 4 advancing into the final.
Great run by Matt Weidman, who's a cushion track specialist from New York. Good run for him. They both make it to the dash for cash in front row.
So much for that single line there, Sammy, huh?
Yeah, the track got a lot slicker since practice, and I had to go out pretty wide to find the cushion, but was having a good time. You know, it's just being that it's a day race, it's hard for them to keep the track really hooked up. So it's going to be a trying race. It's going to be tough to pull out this win, but we got a good start.
And the beauty of it is, they are all on the same track, so it might be difficult, but everybody's got to deal with it as we go to heat race number 2. And again, just look at the dust, look at the dirt. I mean, this is old school. You got to love everything about it.
And we got a group of guys that just absolutely love cushion racetracks. The 17 of Henry Wiles on the Ducati, the 12 of Brad Baker on the Harley-Davidson, and the number 2 of Kenny Coolbeth, factory Harley rider. He might struggle here a little bit today, but Henry Wiles with the horsepower on the 1000cc Ducati down the front stretch. This is his kind of racetrack.
And you can see the guys pushing up wide. It looks like a track where you really need some patience for sure, and some great throttle control as well.
Well, throttle control to a certain extent. As the deeper the cushion gets, the harder you got to turn that throttle to keep the rear wheels spinning to get it to propel forward through the heavy stuff.
Great battle there for third place. Kenny Coolbeth Jr., of course, picking up a win earlier this year at Knoxville. But look at that roost. I mean, if you're behind somebody like that, it's impossible to see where you're going.
Yeah, Brad Baker just got a face full of sand from off the back of the Ducati of Henry Wiles. As we see, this track has really dried out quite a bit from the first heat race. It's certainly going to have to keep the keys in the water truck today. Oh, as the number 12 of Baker has some issues pulling off to the outside, and it looks like a flat tire or a broken swing arm or something there. That bike was dog tracking a little bit too much.
Henry Wiles coming out of the final turn there, picks up the win in that heat race. There's a good look at the number 12 for Baker. Unfortunately, that one suffers a mechanical. There's a look at the final results from heat race number 2, courtesy of E3 Spark Plugs, and Henry Wiles on that Ducati makes it to the main event and the dash, along with rookie Michael Avila and another rookie making it to the main, and Briar Bauman.
Henry, looking at the lines you guys are taking, has your strategy changed now after this heat win?
Well, I don't think it's really changed. I think it might go away yet. There's still time in the day. That was just the second heat, and the sun's really beating down on the track, so it's really drying it out, really getting a hard packed. I was going through turn 3 and just slow, feet up, just kind of let on through there and about lost it. That's how dry slick it is right now. So fortunately, Lloyd Brothers Motorsports bike had enough horsepower to pull by and get a good draft down the straight, and we were able to just make a couple corners good and run our line after that.
All right, we continue on here with heat race number 3.
The number 1 of Jake Johnson on the pole, lined up beside him, number 42, Brian Smith, who's been winning a few races on these mile tracks, but they were tracks with a lot of traction. This one here might be a little bit different story today, as he struggles to draft by down the back straightaway. I can't believe, Kenny, how dry this racetrack's getting. And Brian Smith up around the outside is going to the deepest, darkest part of that dirt to get the traction on that Kawasaki. Heck of a run there through 3 and 4.
And we've been talking about the power of that Kawasaki, and he flexes the power right there. First of all, he drives through the heavy stuff, gets some good grip, and then drives around Jake Johnson afterwards.
That was a good use of the draft by 42, Brian Smith, down the front stretch, as Jake Johnson latches onto the back of him. See if he'll have something for him later in this heat race.
Halbert was falling back even though he's in a battle for third. Eventually finds himself in a battle for fourth and one spot out of the transfer position.
As we see the 23 of Jeffrey Carver Jr. taking the high line, feet kicking back. A lot of times the spray comes off the front wheel, knocks a foot back and makes it a handful. As we see Smith cruises to a win on the Crosley Radio Kawasaki one more time this year, along with Brandon Robinson in a direct transfer. Jake Johnson struggled toward the end of that, dropping back to third with Carver, the last position to the final.
Heat races are in the books. The Dash is up next, and the semis. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more great action from the Santa Rosa Mile. Welcome back to the Canada All-Natural Pet Foods AMA Pro Flat Track Nationals presented by General Tire. We're here in Santa Rosa at the Santa Rosa Mile. Matt Weidman made the dash for cash, but unfortunately could not get his bike started. So we're going to show you highlights here from the Dash for Cash.
And not only is it a dash for cash, but it's a dash for points. And we see 2 of the point leaders, number 1, Jake Johnson, and number 9, Jared Mees, aren't on the field here. This is a prime opportunity for number 7, Sammy Halbert, to make a significant gain in points. But number 42, Brian Smith here, I believe, wants to spoil the party as Halbert runs up the inside coming off of turn 4. A great run through 3 and 4. These guys love this kind of racetrack.
Yeah, Sammy entered today third in the points, but as we talked about before, has 3 wins under his belt, has been picking away at it here, and picks up some more in this Dash for Cash.
And most importantly for his championship hopes, Sammy Halbert gaining 5 points on his championship rivals, closes to within 6 of Jake Johnson and 18 of Jared Mees.
All right, time for the semifinals as they line them up, and of course we'll fill out the rest of our main event with our competitors here.
And the big surprise in this semifinal, we see the number 9, Jared Mees, struggling in his heat race with a 5th place finish. Has to come through the semi. It's going to put him on the 3rd row on a track with tough visibility. His day just got really long for his championship hopes.
And you just talked about that. I mean, that is our points leader coming in. So, as we saw before, Howard closing the gap on him, but he's got to get in the show here. You've got to get in the dance here if you're going to make a run at this championship.
Yeah, he has to finish in the top 3 in this semi in order for him to add to his point total on the day. As of right now, he's scored 0 points, and he's going to have his work cut out for him running down the number 7 of Sammy Halbert in the main event.
You can see the guys enter fairly low as well and then kind of wash up and get into that cushion as we talked about before. The battle here for second as we see Halbert trying to hang on.
Yeah, he's being chased by the 80 of Stevie Bonzi from local Northern California. I'm sure he's enjoying this nice loose dirt. He is a loose track specialist as he makes a good run around the outside of the 69 of Jethro Halbert through turns 1 and 2. And another Northern California boy, 91 on the Triumph, Mikey Martin, making a bid for the final transfer spot into the 25-lap final.
And Jethro Halbert drives right back up underneath Bonzi, but again enters low where it's slick, and that's last time Bonzi got a good run around the outside like you were talking about, and again gets another solid run here. I wonder if Jethro will change his line because he's about to fall out of the final transfer spot.
Well, he sits in 4th now. He's going to have to do something. What he was doing the previous lap certainly isn't working, as we see the riders working the cushion pretty hard through turns 1 and 2. A little more shade trees around the outside. It appears to be holding the moisture a little bit more. You get down here to the other end of the racetrack in turns 3 and 4, there's hardly a tree in sight, and that track is really, really drying out.
Of course, Jethro is the older brother of Sammy Halbert that we were talking about earlier, who's already in the show. Would love to join his brother, but is falling back significantly now as we watch our points leader, Jared Mees, just driving away.
I think Jared has found the combination. Boy, that was a close run there with Martin up against the outside guardrail. Went deep within a foot of the hay bales here in turns 1 and 2. These guys are using every inch of the Santa Rosa County Fairgrounds.
Boy, that was a sketchy pass on the outside. Niall finds himself on the inside as he goes underneath Bonzi. These two really battling, and they're both in the show. Is it really worth that extra position?
Well, I guess they're so busy with each other, they're not sure that they have clear track behind them. We saw Bonzi there take a peek. He goes, maybe I don't have to push it so hard now that we've got a little bit of gap on 4th.
Martin takes over 2nd place and hangs on. Bonzi right there in tow in clean track as they both kind of settle in. I agree. I mean, a smart move right here by Bonzi. Wait and battle hard, but look at Martin again, way out there in the cushion. I mean, what I call the cushion is right at the edge of the fluff, and these guys are way out in it.
We noticed the 80 of Bonzi probably wanted to go a little higher, but if he gets much higher behind the 91 of Martin, he ends up getting roosted with the dirt. It's like hitting a wall. It really slows him down, but here they have on this end 2 very diverse lines. Martin running around the bottom, Bonzi up on the outside.
And of course, the bottom, the advantage is it's much shorter as that white flag comes out. The top, you can carry more momentum, and I'm very curious to see how things are going to shake out as these guys try these different lines.
Yeah, Martin is happy with running right near the hay bales. Bonzi happy being just below it. But again, like I said, there's more shade in 1 and 2 with the trees, a little bit more moisture left in the racetrack. We're starting to see the guys creep back down to the bottom of the racetrack in turns 3 and 4. As we see Bonzi go high, we have the 91 of Martin down low. We might see some rubber form down there at the bottom of the racetrack before the day's up.
Yeah, and I love your experienced eyes as you take a look at those things, and that's something someone of your caliber or a champion will do as Jared Mees picks up the win here. You guys are looking for those little advantages, a shade in one end of the track, the other end in the sun, and you take your best line.
Well, you do what you have to do to find traction on a dirt track, and sometimes Mother Nature plays its part, and we're seeing that today.
There's a look at the top 3 that transfer into the main from E3 Spark Plugs, Jared Mees, Michael Martin, and Stephen Bonzi. The rest, unfortunately, done here for the day.
Honestly, Jared, I didn't expect to see you here. I expected to see you getting out of that first heat.
Yeah, you know, just had a little bad luck, missed the setup quite a bit. not really my style of track. Really skittery, hard to get a hold of something. I like my wheels to be in line, but we're coming around. The track's the same for everybody. Not going to complain about water or track prep or anything like that. It's the same for everybody.
What do you do now starting the back of the pack?
Well, you know, I think it was better for me. If I couldn't be top 2 in the heat race, it was probably better that I ran the semi because I learned a lot. Track changed so much, and it's going to be closer to the main event how the semi was, so maybe it was a benefit.
He no doubt will take advantage of that. Another seasoned rider as we go into our second and final semifinal here. Once again, the top 3 will advance into the main.
Many of these riders are going to be looking to learn some of the same lessons that the number 9 of Jared Mees did in the first heat race, the 98 of Cale Kolkman, the 26 of Brandon Bergen, the 12 of Baker, who was running really good in his heat race, finds himself lined up in the semi, wanting to get in the top 3 for that the last 3 spots into the 25-lap feature.
Brad Baker on the Harley-Davidson, a great job there at the start. And you can see these guys really dancing with these bikes at the start. It's so critical here at this racetrack.
And not only guys, but that 15, the racing lady from Clio, Michigan, Nicole Cheza, sticks it in there looking for an opportunity for her spot in the 25-lap feature as well.
Nicole also on a Harley here and doing a great job right here as she comes back down the front straightaway.
Trying to hook up and get a little bit of draft here from Brad Baker down the front stretch. Narrows the gap, runs up the inside. But Baker just buries it deep into the cushion here, bouncing all over.
Unbelievable right there. Those saves are just spectacular.
You know, and it's one of those situations there. We saw Baker kind of bull riding through turns 1 and 2. If he had let out of the gas, he'd have gone down. He stuck with it, and I think that was an 8-second ride for him there.
Absolutely. By the way, Brandon Bergen right now hanging on to 3rd place, that final transfer spot, and Nicole gets into a little bit of trouble as well. Well,
she was kind of in no man's land there in a sense, and she was on the hard pack stuff. Got a big handful of throttle, and there's no cushion there. It's starting to dry out in turns 3 and 4, and about steps it around to the high side. But she, the experience that she has gained for many years, she rode that one out well.
Harley-Davidson 1, 2, and 3 here in our second semifinal.
As Nicole holds off the charge of the 26 of Brandon Bergen. Brandon's a part-time racer, so it's good to see him in position for the final. As the 12 of Baker, the leader, runs into the very end of the air fence. Thank goodness for that. But still a little wounded there. I'm not sure what happened, but we'll find out shortly.
If Brad and the bike are okay, he'll have to use a provisional. And this is the final laps here of our second semifinal. Again, Nicole Cheza on the 15 bike drives up underneath Brandon Bergen. This is for the lead.
With the loss of Baker, our early leader, these two find themselves battling for the win in semifinal number 2. As we have a run to the stripe.
1 to go. White flag is out, and I'll tell you, this track is definitely putting the riders to the test.
Well, it's starting to really slick off. Unless you commit to going really, really high into the deep stuff, that track is light brown everywhere. Whenever it's light brown, it's very slippery in these sandy surfaces. I don't think either one of these two want to push each other too hard or take too big of a risk, because they're both pretty well set for a direct transfer to the final. I think they just want to survive this one.
Absolutely, and you can see it looks like Brandon able to keep up now with Nicole down in the dry slick, and a nice move right at the very end. No sooner than you say that, right? And I mean, and they go racing. That's what they are. They're racers.
Yep. Nicole Cheza lines Brandon back up for a good draft pass to the finish line. I think they can exhale now. They survived the semi as Nicole gives a good thumbs up to Brandon Bergen. And the 98 of Cale Kolkman with the final transfer position into our 25-lap feature.
Results from E3 Spark Plugs.
Nicole, the first thing you said to me is, again, we meet. Well, thank goodness we do, because you're moving into the main, starting from the back, but it looks like this thing's hooked up.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I've been trying to get this XR 1200 to work. but today wasn't the right track for it. We brought this out for the semi, and it's definitely going forward. So can't wait for the main event. We got 25 laps, so pick them off one at a time.
And that's how you get it done. Love her attitude. When we come back, the pro singles will be lined up. We'll show you the winner of that main event. The experts are rolling out to the starting line here. We're going to show you highlights from our pro singles main here at the Canada All Natural Pet Foods AMA Pro Flat Track Nationals, presented by General Tire. As you take a look at the pro singles, the points battle for the championship could not be any closer. Vandeker with 151 points, followed by Eisenach at 150 points, and Shoemaker at 149 points coming into this event. Look at that stack of bikes.
18 riders, 450cc single-cylinder converted motocross bikes. As up around the outside, the 10J, Steven Vandeker, this is his kind of racetrack. As we see, they put a little bit of water down. The dirt is much darker as at the start of this race that we saw at the end of the semis. They're gonna like a little bit of added moisture. We'll see how long it lasts. Vandeker up the inside, sets sail. This is the kind of track he loves.
Battle for second place between Rodney Spencer Jr. and Dominic Calendris.
Yeah, Calendris, local. Spencer, even more local. Bay Area guys, they're going for it hard. They want to put on a good show here in front of their hometown fans. As the 55A of Jake Shoemaker sneaks up the inside, running the bottom through turns 3 and 4, 3 abreast. That's racing at its finest there. They're swapping all over the place. This was a heck of a battle here for second.
Absolutely, and you can see him fan out. Such a large class there. Of course, we talked about Jake Shoemaker being in the hunt for the battle here for the championship. The top 3 going at it. The one name we've yet to see enter the top 5 is Eisenach.
Eisenach having trouble in this one. He's going to end up sitting on the sidelines, but Vandeker, smoked him. 9-second win. Spencer pulls out from the battle for third to a comfortable second, but that was a great run there, these 3 guys, and Cole Anderson pulls out the final spot on the podium.
So congratulations to our points leader. He's had such a solid season all year long, and now making a run at it when it counts the most.
Make some hay on his championship competitors. Spencer coming in as a part-time, as a spoiler, putting himself between Shoemaker and Calendris in the unfortunate outing for Jason Eisenach today.
Yeah, down at the bottom of the pile, and no doubt will fall out of second place as well. So just moments away here from starting our expert main event. Everybody out on the starting line, of course, getting ready to go when all those butterflies are stirring around inside, but of course calm, cool, and collected is our very own Kenny Sargent. With more on the main event, let's get it down to him.
Guys, there's speed up front, speed in the back, champion implications up and down the grid. In fact, look at this. Your points leader, Jared Mees, number 9, starting on the 3rd row. He's got to do all he can to get up to the front row to run with the big boys. And this track is coming around, so much so that there's really not any issues with the track. Well, just ask this guy, though. He's got it figured out. Brian Smith, number 42. Brian, there's still a lot of chirping out here about this Kawasaki and how much power you've got. You won your heat. It looks like you let up in the dash for cash. How do you keep these guys off your back?
We just got to get a hole shot and put our head down and haul ass. That's about it.
Well, but you understand what I'm talking about. All this power on that Kawasaki, man.
Yeah, it's great. The power is great. It's 2 drag strips, but it's the hard part in the middle of the straightaways where you got to turn around and go the other way. So it's a handful, but we're going for it.
Now, this track really isn't a surprise to us now. We thought there were going to be implications as far as the tires go, but it's really coming to you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's coming to us. It's going to be up by the hay bales, old school dirt track. This is dirt track, old school style.
Fellas, I couldn't have said it any better. You want some old style flat tracking, dirt tracking? You're about to get it. Let's go racing.
Yeah, definitely elbows up here today. Tell me about how you feel about racing on tracks like this, Chris.
Well, these were never my favorite types of tracks. Growing up in California, we like to keep the wheels in line. That's not this kind of racetrack here in Santa Rosa.
It's time to go racing here at the Canada All Natural Pet Foods AMA Pro Flat Track Nationals presented by General Tire here at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. This is the Santa Rosa Mile and the main event about to begin here for the experts. 25 laps in distance, and this track is going to throw these guys and gals some curveballs.
Well, I would say over the course of 25 laps, the track is going to go through several changes. There's going to be a lot of grip early on with a little bit of moisture down, especially in turns 1 and 2. But as the race wears on, it's going to get drier and drier, and traction will be at a premium.
Here's a look at our starting lineup. Of course, the front row loaded with speed, as is the second row, and the third row has a great story in it.
Yeah, lined up in the 5th and 6th position, the recently engaged Nicole Cheza and championship leader Jared Mees. Jared popped the question opening ceremonies at the Springfield Mile 2 weeks ago, and fortunately for him, she said yes.
That's awesome. It's a great story, but I've got to wonder what it does to your psyche lined up alongside your fiancé as you go for a win here.
Well, I think they're going to be competing pretty hard. Jared's probably, wow, the 7 of Halbert turning right off the starting line. Sometimes you get a little cross-rutted on some of the ruts dug out from starting all day long. He got on the wrong edge of that one and almost ended his day right there.
Boy, look at those guys and gals just fan out. Look at the dust pile. If you were back in the pack, you can see absolutely nothing.
And with the shade of the trees, you have the shade blinking with the dust flying. Man, I would not want to be Jared Mees starting from the third row in this one.
Just kind of follow colors of your competitor up in front of you and hope that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, so you can kind of guide your way through the dust. Green flag out. Lap number 1 is completed, and it's Brian Smith out to the early lead.
Out to the early lead, up in the deep stuff, hammered down, using the power of the Crosley Radio, Howerton Motorsports Kawasaki to try and set sail here early. He's using every inch of the racetrack, and he's trying to get away in a hurry. It's the number 20 of Weidman, who previously didn't make the start for his Dash for Cash, running competitively up front here in the final, running third right behind his friend Sammy Halbert. These two guys love riding cushion tracks, as does the 42, and it's no surprise to see them up front currently.
Yeah, Sammy with a nice job as well on that start, of course, doing a good job with the Harley. So Kawasaki out front, followed by a Harley-Davidson, as again, racing extremely hard, very close. This is what the fans come out to see, of course, and for the first time in 42 years, they're back here at the Santa Rosa Mile. Nobody in the field has ever, of course, with that amount of time, competed here.
You know, and I just got a view of the number 9. Started back in the 14th or 15th position, running around the inside of turns 1 and 2, running the lower line. He finds himself in 8th currently. That's a pretty good start to the race for him. If he can continue to march forward, he could be in the hunt by the end of this.
And how about Jake Johnson also hanging tough in there as well? Solid place there, battling in the top 5.
We see the 1 and the 9 running a distinct line around the very bottom of the racetrack, as low as they can get. It's hard packed down there. There's starting to be a little discoloration. That's just a little bit of evidence that there might be some rubber being laid in turns 1 and 2. And that the pace could pick up around the bottom as this race wears on. As we see the 42 and 7, tooth and nail here.
Boy, look at that Kawasaki just motor away down the straightaway, known for its power for sure, but then he closes that gap up as they negotiate this long turn. And speaking of the turns and the racetrack, let's get it down to Kenny Sargent, who has developments. Kenny?
Guys, I don't know if you can see it from your point of view, but going into turn 1, a big bump is developed as the guys set up. Sammy, it's Brian, they really don't hit it, but look at the guys behind them. They go a little further inside going into 1, and that rear end is just all over the place.
Well, these guys up front are using every inch of the Santa Rosa Mile as we see them searching for traction everywhere. And what you picked up on, Kenny, is going into 1, they kind of veer a little bit to the right. They go around the rough stuff, but it also gives them a quicker entrance to the deep cushion and a better angle of attack on the corner. As
yes!
Halbert just buries the throttle up the inside of Smith through turns 1 and 2.
And I think that's a great example of what you've talked about all season long, how well the Harleys handle. He's getting through the turns great. And then, of course, you see the horsepower from the Kawasaki. Just the line itself on the 7 bike is a lot cleaner.
The 7 of Halbert, the Harley-Davidson Power, this type of racetrack is going to grab the ground much better. As we saw the lap previous, Halbert has an advantage through the corners. The 42 has the advantage on the straightaways. Be very interesting as this race gets into the later stages, which one's better.
And you talked about a small groove possibly developing at the bottom. Do you guys ever chase a groove and help develop that to help you out later on in the race, especially if you start deep like we saw Jared Mees do?
Well, a lot depends on your comfort level. As we heard Mees talk about earlier, he's not real fond of these kinds of racetrack. He likes keeping the wheels in line. So if he sees an opportunity with another couple of riders to help develop an alternate line around the bottom of the racetrack, he's going to do it.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can lay some rubber down on the bottom, get some traction on the bottom, and travel a shorter distance, it's got to be an advantage.
It certainly will be an advantage, and we know from watching all these guys throwing all this dirt up over the fences, over the air fence, over the hay bales, pretty soon they're going to run out of it, and that line developing on the bottom might come into play.
Once again, a great battle here in the middle of our main event for the experts here. 25 laps in distance and an ever-changing track. First time back in 42 years at the Santa Rosa Mile. The top two are putting on a show for sure. Brian Smith on board the Kawasaki, being followed by the number 7 of Sammy Halbert on the Harley-Davidson.
And the 20 Weidman on a Kawasaki and the Ducati of Henry Wiles. You know, our top 4 right now are probably easily known as the best cushion track riders on the circuit today. They're showing it currently, running 1, 2, and 3, 4 around the Santa Rosa Mile. These guys are putting in a heck of a show. They're showing you how to ride the cushion track better than anybody.
And we saw Wiles pick up that heat race win earlier on the Ducati. Has talked about the power of the Ducati, and he's able to flex it here once again, much like that Kawasaki that's dancing out front.
Yeah, and the 42 there starting to creep away. Creating a little bit of separation from the 7 of Halbert. Smith marching forward. He wants to put this one away early.
Not sure if you can see the smoke coming out of the 17 of Henry Wiles, but if I know that team, they say you just run it till that baby's dead. Henry Wiles still maintaining his position, but smoke coming out of the back of the 17.
Yeah, nothing you can do about it now. You might as well run it till it's done, and you can definitely see the death smoke out of the back of that one.
Well, hopefully that's not some sort of oil coming out and coating the riders behind him. That would certainly make their visibility difficult. It's already tough enough. They'll probably use more tear-offs off their helmets today. As we see Weidman putting his hand up, wiping his face shield there. I think he might be getting oiled by the 17. He appears to having a hard time seeing there. As we see the 9, Mees, up the inside of Johnson. Those guys are tiptoeing around the bottom of the racetrack.
When you're absolutely right. I mean, the oil gets on your face mask, it's tough to see, but oil and dirt combination, it sticks to the face mask or the tear-off in this particular case, and you're done. But yeah, look at that battle between 2 champs going at it. The number 1 bike, the number 9 bike, of course, Jake Johnson and Jared Mees.
You know, a lot of times 2 guys can work together and go faster than one. It appears to be what they're doing, having the racetrack come in on the bottom. As we see the 17 basically take care of all the mosquitoes here in Northern California.
We're back at the Canada All-Natural Pet Foods AMA Flat Track Nationals presented by General Tire. I'll look a little deeper in the pack. You see the 17, 27, but look at the 9 and the 1. Keep in mind, Jake Johnson on the 1, but the number 9, Jared Mees, started in the 3rd row in 13th place, had a tough go of it early on in the afternoon, but our points leader is picking his way to the front.
He and Johnson pull a double draft on the 27 of Robbie Pearson, battling for the 4th position as they gain on the smoking Henry Wiles into turn 1. Those guys are moving forward. They're making more progress than anybody at the moment. Good run from those guys through the back. Certainly, as Jared said earlier, after his winning his semi, it might have been a good thing that he did get to ride the semi. He learned a lot about the racetrack, learned a lot about his motorcycle, and here he and Jake Johnson are working together. They're rivals in the points, but right now they see the 7 way out in front of them. They got to run him down, so and they're making some headway as they get by Wiles now coming off of turn 4. They're on the move.
Yeah, Wiles went way high. By the way, also the 27 bike of Robert Pearson has latched on. He is in that group as well, moving forward. Wiles kind of missed that turn, got up high, and you can absolutely see a groove developing now on the bottom of this racetrack.
Well, you saw the 27 creep back in behind him. You know, he had been running kind of in the middle of the racetrack, Robbie Pearson was. As these guys went by working together on the bottom, he's gone into the low side as well as Wiles now. We start to see a little bit of black forming at the entrance of turn 3, coming here off of turn 4. You know, they might have something here in these last 10 laps.
Brian Smith way out front, the better part of 5 seconds as it stands right here. Almost unheard of, certainly in this category. But you've been here before. When you're way out front, you have nobody to gauge off of. You stay where you're at because it's working for you, but you could be getting yourself in trouble.
Yeah, it's hard to determine how much faster the bottom is. He's going with what got him here. He's been running the high line the entire race. There's nobody going by him. There's no sense in abandoning his strategy. He's going forward. He's got a huge lead here over the 7 as the 9 and the 1 run the 7 down.
A couple of the riders that have already come off the track complaining about some major dust issues. Sand, dirt in the face, dirt in the eyes. Not sure if it's a big-time issue with the guys up front, but the guys in the back definitely complaining about all the dirt in the face.
And certainly from competing in short course off-road, you understand what that is all about. I mean, I've been there as well, and that dust, the real fine particles, actually works its way into your eyes, and you constantly fight it, but it's all part of the fun said and done.
Well, I don't know how much fun it is to not be able to see where you're going at 100+ miles an hour. But just a lap ago, we saw that through turns 1 and 2. As you're turning into the sun, you see this big cloud of dust and a big glare behind it. And it's very, very tough to pick out your marks on the racetrack.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely, the combination of dust and sun makes it all but impossible. And certainly the dust, no matter what you do, the particles, the fine particles, work their way around the face mask and into your eyes. It is certainly a tough element, but the guys up here in the front are forging forward for sure. And the 7 bike is getting tracked down now. Sammy Halbert is going to be feeling the heat from Jared Meese and Jake Johnson in just a couple of moments.
Well, for the first time in nearly the entire race, we see the 7 move to the bottom in turns 3 and 4. I have a feeling he looked back and saw his championship rivals coming. He's adjusted his line, and
I'll tell you what, the guy out front, he might need to adjust his line because they are quickly closing the gap on our leader now.
That 5-second lead disappeared in about 4 laps. We got a 4-man race now.
Coming down to our final laps, Brian Smith has been out front the entire time. Some 5-second lead just a couple of laps ago, has stuck to the top. The 3 behind him have all gone to the bottom, and look at him close the gap immediately, and we have a change of the lead.
Halbert comes out of nowhere, takes the lead immediately, you know, and this is the advantage that Harley-Davidsons have on this type of racetrack. It went from being a Kawasaki racetrack the first 12 to 15 laps to a pure Harley-Davidson track. These 3 guys have run the Cowie down. Halbert, Meese, and Johnson are moving forward. Smith's going to have to make some adjustments if he wants to hold on to a podium.
And how about Meese? What a great run here after struggling early on. Starts 13th, picks his way up to the top 3 as it stands right now.
He would certainly win the Hard Charger Award if we had one today. Moving from the 13th starting spot, having himself a chance for a win. That's impressive.
It has been a busy race. It took a little while to develop here at the Canada All Natural Pet Foods AMA Flat Track Nationals. 2 laps to go here. It was Brian Smith who led pretty much the entire time. Then Sammy Halbert got after it, followed by Jared Meese. Jake Johnson also pounding around up in the front. We see the 27 as well of Robert Pearson. So all of those guys dove down to the bottom, closed the gap, and we've got a race.
A race that the number 7 of Sammy Halbert is certainly taking advantage of now. He has adopted the low line as he had taken a peek back. With 1 lap to go here, he's got Jared Meese hot on his tail. You know, this is championship implications right here. I mean, I think Meese is going to feel pretty comfortable about his performance, but he sure would like to get that additional 4 points. One-on-one, This is an 8-point difference if Mies is able to make the pass. He gets 4 more, Halbert gets 4 less. Halbert holds on. You know, when it's one-on-one, it's a little bit different. But
and of course, going back to the dash for cash, it was Howard who picked up those 5 points. Coming around through turn number 4, though, the first winner in 42 years here at Santa Rosa, and it's going to be Sammy Halbert, who does a spectacular job of holding off a charging Jared Mies. He picks up his 4th win of the season. That is phenomenal.
And to do so in Santa Rosa, not far from the last number 7 from On Any Sunday, Mert Lawwell. I know those two are good friends. Does the number 7 proud and close to Mert Lawwell's home.
Jared Mies has to be happy with his efforts here as well as we take a look at our results from E3 Spark Plugs. Brian Smith and the Kawasaki hang on for a top 3. As we take a look at 4th, it's Jake Johnson, and then Robert Pearson rounds out your top 5. Congrats to everybody for coming out here, putting on a show in this heat. Let's get it down to Sargent.
Sammy Halbert with some flat track donuts out there on the track, getting congratulations from the rest of the crew. And in fact, you see him flushing his face with water. That was a major issue on the track with a number of these riders. First of all, congratulations on that win. Can I say that that was the most important win of your career right there?
Man, that was important. You know, we're getting down here to the final couple races, and it was tough. You know, there at the beginning, Brian had a good line up top and was checking out. I tried the bottom early, and it lost a lot of ground. It took a long time for that bottom to come in. I just kind of looked behind me and checked, and when the guys were catching me on the groove, I knew it was time to change up my strategy.
A couple of things on that. You've been one of the major outspoken ones about that Kawasaki, yet you took it down at this race at Santa Rosa. It looked like he was going to run away with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm speaking out against the Kawasaki. I mean, I love that other brands are coming in. Hopefully that continues to grow. It's just that we're racing, you know, restricted Harleys against unrestricted Kawasaki's in same CCs. So it's just, you know, kind of goofy, but luckily the track was, you know, where I could have some multiple lines and pass.
Last thing about the track. Number of riders complaining about the dust, the sand in the face, in the eyes. Is that a problem for you?
I mean, I was up towards the front, so there wasn't really dust wasn't a factor. But yeah, I think for sure the track could have been a little wetter to begin with, and that would have probably been safer for the guys in the back.
Who cares, man? You're taking home that win after 42 years here at Santa Rosa. We're back, and Sammy Halbert has his name on that trophy.
Yeah, that's right. Feels awesome. You know, I'm good friends with Jim Rice, and he was the last winner, and I'm happy to get this win. So thanks, everybody.
Man, that is awesome to think that you can put your name right next to a good friend that did it 42 years ago. Here's a look at the points from General Tire.
Sammy Halbert leapfrogs Jake Johnson to within 14 points of Jared Mies for the championship. That was a great day for his championship hopes. Number 7 did his team proud.
You can check us out online at lucasoil.com, like us on Facebook, or feel free to tweet us as well. We'd love to hear from you. Great racing action here as we make our return to the Santa Rosa Mile. Just 2 events left on the season as they chase the championship. Of course, you can see some of the heroics going on there by the tough Sammy Halbert. Hope you enjoyed all the great racing action. That is bar to bar from the AMA Grand National Championship Series. For Kenny Sargent and Chris Carr, I'm Ken Stout. We'll see you next time.